Hi, kids. Hi. Let me set this up. Hi. So get out your blank paper and a pencil, but don't worry, I'll tell you what to write. Get out a blank paper and a pencil. This is about fractions. I'm calling this math tricks fractions. I call these skills math tricks because it is some basic skills that will help you work through the math problems on your tests that involve fractions. And just like when you guys studied multiplication and division, you learned how to do long division problems. But on your test, it was word problems that involved the skill of knowing how to do long division. So these are just some basic skills with fractions that will help you tackle the word problems that involve fractions. The three main skills that you need to know in order to tackle some of the assignments and tests that will evaluate your understanding of fractions are, and we're going to go over all three of them. 1, 2, 3. They are: 1, how to add and subtract fractions with the same denominator. It's the number on the bottom is the same. Number 2, how to make equivalent fractions, or how also to simplify a fraction. Number 3, how to turn an improper fraction into a mixed number. It's an improper fraction and you have to turn it into a mixed number. So in this video, I will show you how to do those three things. I hope it helps. Math is something you can conquer if you keep putting in the effort and practice, practice, practice. The skill you need to have already mastered that will help you with these lessons is memorizing all your basic multiplication facts. You can do that with flashcards and with drill sheets to memorize those facts. So let's look at the first skill. I'm going to have it written down. How to add and subtract fractions with the same denominator. The number on the bottom is the same. So we're going to look at some examples of how to do that. Don't write this down yet, I'm just showing you. This is adding two fractions together, and look, the denominator is the same. This is adding two fractions together, and look, that bottom number is the same. This is subtracting two fractions, and look, the bottom number is the same. This is subtracting two fractions again, and the bottom number is the same. So we have to figure out how to do that. So let's do the first one. 3/8 plus 2/8. So write down 3/8 plus 2/8. Well, the bottom number stays the same. And then you add the top two numbers together. 3 plus 2 is 5. So write down 3/8 plus 2/8 equals 5/8. Next one. 1/4 plus 2/4. 1/4 plus 2/4 equals, the denominator is the same, so you put a 4 on the bottom Then you add the top two numbers. 1 plus 2 is 3. So your answer is 3/4. 1/4 plus 2/4 is 3/4. Now let's do some subtraction problems. 5/8 minus 2/8 equals, well, again, even on a subtraction problem, if the bottom number is the same, it can just stay the same. But what is 5 minus 2? If you have 5 and you take 2 of them away, you have 3 left. So 5/8 minus 2/8 is 3/8. What about 3/4 minus 1/4? The bottom number stays the same. We're still looking about if we had 3 out of 4 things and we took away 1 out of 4 of those things, we would have 3 minus 2 is 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. So we would have 2 out of 4 left. 3/4 minus 1/4 is 2/4. Okay, I did all those 4 problems. Now, for practice, you can take a clean sheet of paper and do those problems by yourself. So I'm going to hold them up so that you can write them all down and do them yourself. I'm holding this up for a minute. Now you can write those problems out and you can do them yourself. 3/8 plus 2/8 equals 1/4 plus 2/4 equals 5/8 minus 2/8 equals 3/4 minus 1/4 equals. And do those problems. You can always pause the video if you need a little more time to write that down. So that was the first one. That's the first skill that will help you when you're trying to tackle those problems. What's another skill that can help you try to tackle those problems? Well, the second one I said was how to make equivalent fractions. Also, how to simplify a fraction. How to make equivalent fractions or simplifying a fraction. Equivalent fractions are when you multiply or divide the top number and the bottom number by the same number. That's an equivalent fraction. Equivalent fractions are when you multiply or divide the top number in a fraction by the same number and the bottom number by the same number. So how do you make 1/2 into 2/4? How do you make 1/2 into 6/12? How do you make 3/4 into 1/2? And how do you make 6/12 into 1/2? Because those are all equivalent fractions. But how did they do that? So on your new clean sheet of paper, let's look at 1/2. I can make all kinds of equivalent fractions. All I have to do is multiply the top and the bottom by the same number, and it'll be an equivalent fraction. Let's do 2. Let's do 1 times 2 and 2 times 2. And I'm multiplying the top and the bottom by the same number. One times 2 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. So is 2/4 equivalent to 1/2? Yes. I multiply both the top and the bottom number by the same number. One half is equal to 2/4. They are equivalent. Next one. Let's take 1/2 again, but just choose a different number to multiply it by. This time, let's multiply it by 6. The top and the bottom by 6. Let's pick a random number to make an equivalent fraction. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 6 is 6. And 2 times 6 is 12. So 1/2 and 6/12 is equivalent. But I said that if you divide by the same number on the top and the bottom, then it will also be an equivalent fraction. So what if we took 2/4 and divided both the top and the bottom by 2? Two divided by 2 is 1, because 1 times 2 is 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, because 2 times 2 is 4. So 2/4 and 1/2, yes, they are equivalent fractions. Let's do another one. Let's do 6/12. Let's divide the top and the bottom by 6 and make an equivalent fraction. Six divided by 6 is 1, because 1 times 6 is 6. And 12 divided by 6 is 2, because 2 times 6 is 12. So 6/12 is equivalent to 1/2. 6/12 is equivalent to 1/2. Now we're going to talk about simplifying a fraction. And simplifying a fraction is kind of like finding an equivalent fraction. Simplifying a fraction is finding the biggest number that will go into the top and bottom evenly. So, simplifying a fraction is finding the biggest number that will go into both the top and the bottom evenly. So 9/12 will simplify to 3/4, and I'll show you how to do it. 10/40 will simplify to 1/4, and I'll show you how to do it. It's dividing the top number and the bottom number by the same number. 15/18 will simplify down to 5/6. And I'll show you how to do it. But I made a little side note. I put if the number on the top and on the bottom are the same, then it simplifies just to a 1. It's just something you gotta know. I'll show you why that's true. But if the top number and the bottom number are the same, then it simplifies to 1. Okay, so let's look at 9/12, 10/40, and 15/18. First, let's do 9/12. We have to find the biggest number that will go into both of those numbers. So let's look at 9. We're looking at factors of 9. 9 times 1 is 9. And 3 times 3 is 9. So those are all the multiples of 9, all the factors. 1, 3, and 9. All those numbers will go into 9 evenly. 1 will go into 9 9 times, 9 will go into 9 1 time, 3 will go into 9 3 times. If you can divide 9 by all 3 of those numbers. What about 12? Well, 12 times 1 is 12. Those are 2 factors. 2 times 6 is also 12. Those are 2 factors. And 3 times 4 is also 12. So 12 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 factors. But what is the biggest number that will go into both of them? Well, 1 goes into both of them. 2 is only down here. It doesn't go into 9. 3 goes into both of them. They both have a 3. There's only a 4 down here. There's only a 9 up there. There's only a 12 down here. So 3 is the biggest number that will go into both of them. So now we can make an equivalent fraction by dividing both the top and the bottom by 3. 9 over 12. Let's make the equivalent fraction. Let's divide it by 3 on both the top and the bottom. Well, 9 divided by 3 is 3, because 3 times 3 is 9. And 12 divided by 3 is 4, because 4 times 3 is 12. So the simplest form of 9/12 is 3/4. That equivalent fraction is the simplest form of 9/12. Let's do another one. The next one says 10/40. 10/40. So write down 10/40. What's the biggest number that will go into both of those evenly? Well, 10 is 10 times 1. 10 is 2 times 5. And that's it. 10 times 1 and 2 times 5. What about 40? 40 is 40 times 1. It is 2 times 20. It is 4 times 10. And it is 5 times 8. So there's a lot of factors for 40. But what was the biggest number that will go into both of them? Well, there's a 1 up there and a 1 down there. There's a 2 up there and a 2 down there. There's not a 3. There's a 4 down here. There's a 5 right here and a 5 right there. That's pretty big. But wait a minute, there's a 10 right here and a 10 up there. So 10 is divisible by 10 and 40 is divisible by 10. So I'm going to divide both the top and the bottom by 10. That's going to make the simplest form of this fraction. 10 divided by 10 and 40 divided by 10. Ten divided by 10 is 1, because 1 times 10 is 10. And 40 divided by 10 is 4, because 4 times 10 is 40. So to simplify 10 40ths, it'll simplify down to 1/4. 1/4. Let's do another one. Next one says 15/18. Simplify that fraction. So write down 15/18. What's the biggest number that will go into both of those numbers evenly? Well, 15 times 1 is 15. 3 times 5 is 15. That's it. 15 times 1 is 15 and 3 times 5 is 15. What about 18? 18 times 1 is 18. 2 times 9 is 18. 3 times 6 is 18. That's it. Those are all your multiples of 18. So what's the biggest number that will go into both of them? I see a 3 down here and a 3 up there, and that's the biggest number that will go into both of them evenly. So let's divide both the top and the bottom of that fraction by 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5, because 5 times 3 is 15. 18 divided by 3 is 6, because 6 times 3 is 18. So 15/18 in its simplest form is 5/6. Now you get a clean sheet of paper. And you can do some by yourself. Practice simplifying these fractions. 9/12, 10/40, and 15/18. Let's simplify them. You can always pause this video and write it down. So let's compare two fractions. Which one is bigger, 3/5 or 2/3? They have different numbers on the bottom. So how can you compare them? How can you compare two numbers that have different numbers on the bottom? I know, I can use equivalent fractions and make them have the same number on both the top and the bottom. Then I can circle which one is bigger. So let's write down 3/5 and 2/3. How do I make them have the same number on the bottom? I multiply 5 times this number, and I multiply 3 times that number. I switch it. So I do 5 times 3 on the bottom, and I do 3 times 5 on the top. I take that bottom number and I switch it. But remember, to make an equivalent fraction, you have to do the same to the top and the bottom. So I have to do 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom, and I have to do 5 on the top and 5 on the bottom. So what is 3 times 3? It's 9. What is 5 times 3? It's 15. What is 2 times 5? It's 10. What is 3 times 5? It's 15. Do you see that the bottom number is the same on both of these fractions now? It's a 15 and a 15. That's because I multiplied this bottom number by that bottom number, and I multiplied this bottom number by that bottom number. So this one I did 5 times 3, and this one I did 3 times 5. And 5 times 3 is the same answer as 3 times 5. You can switch them. It's going to still be the same answer. So now that I have my two equivalent fractions, 9/15 and 10/15, now I can see which one's bigger. 10/15. 10 out of 15 is more than 9 out of 15. So 2/3 is more than 3/5. 2/3 is more than 3/5. A lot of times on your work, it'll show you a diagram. And it'll show you something, a circle or a rectangle. And it will show you what the fraction 3/5 looks like. So it'll divide it into 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you will color 3/5 of those parts. 1, 2, 3. And we'll say that's 3/5. Because 3 out of 5 of them are colored. And then I'll show you another one. And we'll say, now I'm going to make 2/3. So we'll divide another square or circle or whatever they decide to divide up. Into 3 parts. And they'll make the fraction 2/3. And I'll say, compare these. Which is more, 3/5 or 2/3? Well, I just showed you with numbers how it's more, but look closely at the diagram. Look, 2/3 is more of the square than 3/5 is. You look at those fractions and you just say, I don't know. But if you look at the picture, look, there's more colored in. There's more purple colored in this picture. There's all this. And this purple is only all this. This is a little bit more. See? It's a little more. It's a little bit more. So just look very carefully at the picture. Now you two practice. Compare these two fractions, 3/5 and 2/3. You can compare them by using the greater than, less than, or equal sign. We discovered that 2/3 was greater than 3/5. So the alligator is going to eat 2/3. Going to make that little sign where it says 3/5 is less than 2/3. It's the sign where the alligator eats the 2/3 side. You can pause the video to write that down. I promised that I would show you why when the number on the top and the bottom are the same, it simplifies down to 1. So I'm going to show you why. 3/4 plus 1/4 equals 1 and not 4/4. It does equal 4/4, but it simplifies down to 1. So let's draw a picture. Well, first let's do the equation. I like to do the number part first because to me, the numbers is easier than the picture. I know that the number on the bottom stays the same, and I know that you just add the top two numbers, 3 plus 1. So I know my answer is 4/4. And I also know that when the top number and the bottom number are the same, they always simplify down to 1. And so my answer is just 1. But I can show you with a picture. Pretend you are in a kitchen and you have a measuring cup. And that measuring cup is divided into 4 parts. There's the measuring cup, and there's the 4 parts of it. What would happen if we took 3/4 of flour and added 1/4 of flour to it? Let's do 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 to equal 3/4. That's the first number. And then let's add on one more 1/4. Now you do have 4 out of 4, 4/4. But we write that as 1 because that filled in the whole thing. And now it's just one big one. So that's the reasoning why 4 out of 4 of something is 1. And 5 out of 5 of something is also 1. And 17 out of 17 of something also, the simplest form is just a 1. But finally, let's look at the third skill. The third skill is how to turn an improper fraction into a mixed number. An improper fraction into a mixed number. What's an improper fraction? What does that mean? What does it mean it's improper? An improper fraction is when the number on the top of the fraction is bigger than the number on the bottom. So we're going to practice 9 halves, 7 fourths, and 11 fifths. The number on top is bigger. It's improper. It's not fit to go out the door like that. We like to turn those into mixed numbers. What's a mixed number? It's a whole number and a fraction together. So let's do the first one. 9 halves. A fraction is kind of like a division problem. Fractions are kind of like division problems. When you see an improper fraction and you want to turn it into a mixed number, you have to divide. 9 divided by 2. 9 divided by 2. How many times will 9 go into 2? Will 2 go into 9? 9 divided by 2. Well, 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 5 is 10. Oh, that's too much. But 2 times 4 is 8. So we'll go in 4 times, and that's your big number. That is your whole number. 2 will go into 9 4 whole times. But there's leftover, isn't there? Because 2 times 4 is 8, not 9. And so how many is left over? 9 minus 8 is 1. So your remainder is 1. And you put that same 2 that's on the bottom right there. So 9 halves is equal to 4 and 1 half. That's how you turn an improper fraction into a mixed number. Let's just try it again. How do you turn 7 fourths, which is improper, into a mixed number? Well, it's kind of like a division problem. 7 divided by 4. How many times will 4 go into 7? 4 times 1 is 4, but 4 times 2 is 8. That's too many. So just once, 4 will go into 7 just one whole time. How many remainder? Well, if 4 times 1 is 4, and you're trying to get to 7, then there's a 3 remaining. 3. 4 will go into 7 one time. With 3 remainder. Because 7 minus 4 is 3. So you put that 3 on top. And you put the 4. So 7 fourths as an improper fraction, we can change to the mixed number 1 and 3 fourths. Good job. Let's do the last one. 11 out of 5. It's kind of like a division problem. The big number's on top, so it's improper. So we have to turn it into a mixed number. That's a whole number plus a fraction, only when it's improper like this. How many times will 5 go into 11? Well, 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. 15, that's too much. 5 times 2 is 10. So 5 will go into 11 2 whole times. But how much remainder do you have? Well, 5 times 2 is 10. We're trying to get to 11, so there's 1 remainder. And you put that 5 on the bottom. How many times will 5 go into 11? 2 with 1 remainder. So 2 with 1/5 left over. 11/5 equals 2 1/5. So let me hold up this practice for you to do it on your own. And those were the 3 things. It says turn these improper fractions into mixed numbers. So those were 3 skills that can help you with fractions. We learned how to add and subtract fractions with the same denominator. That means the number on the bottom was the same. We learned how to make equivalent fractions by multiplying the top and the bottom by the same number or dividing the top and the bottom by the same number. And that's also how you simplify a fraction. And we learned how to turn an improper fraction into a mixed number. I hope this helps, and you guys need to practice on your fractions.